The Prime Minister, something I would agree with directionally. The Prime Minister proposed the Make in India program. I think a good idea. We saw the statues, we saw the functions, we saw the so-called investment, and the result is right in front of me. Manufacturing fell from 15.3% of GDP in 2014 to 12.6% of GDP today. That is the lowest share of manufacturing in 60 years. I'm not even blaming the Prime Minister, because I think it would not be fair to say he didn't try. I could say that the Prime Minister tried, and I think conceptually Make in India was a good idea, but it's pretty clear that he failed, because manufacturing went from 15.3% of GDP to 12.6%. Which are the companies that organize consumption? Uber organizes consumption. Reliance organizes consumption. Adani organizes consumption. But we have, as a country, failed in organizing production. We have excellent companies that try to organize production. They are the Mahindras of this world. They are the Bajajs of this world. Part of Tata's organizes production, but the record of the country in organizing production is dismal. And essentially what we have done is we have handed over the organization of production to the Chinese. So this mobile phone, even though we are saying we make this mobile phone in India, that is not a fact. This phone is not made in India. This phone is assembled in India. All the components of this phone are made in China. The network that has produced this phone is made in China, is owned by China. So every time we use a phone, every time we wear a Chinese shirt, a Bangladeshi shirt, every time we wear a pair of Chinese sneakers, we are paying a tax to China. Because some Chinese youngster is earning a salary to make or to produce that product. So the first message I would give in a presidential address would be that India has to focus completely on production. Because if we do not focus on production and we continue to focus only on consumption, we will find that we will run huge deficits, we will increase inequality, and eventually we will run into a serious problem. Social problem because of unemployment, which we are already facing. If you look at the numbers of the amount of people who are in jail, if you look at the numbers that are spent on internal security, if you look at the numbers spent on our police forces, they're all spiraling. They're all rising. And everybody understands that social tension is on the rise in India. I want to tell the youngsters of this country, people talk about AI. But it's important to understand that AI on its own is absolutely meaningless. Because AI operates on top of data. Without data, AI means nothing. And if we look at data today, there is one thing which is very clear. Every single piece of data that comes out of the production system in the world, the data that was used to make this phone, the data that is used to make electric cars, the data that is used to make basically all electronics on the planet today is owned by China. And the consumption data is owned by the United States. In China, the consumption data is owned by China, but in India, companies like Google, companies like Facebook, companies like Instagram, X, they own our consumption data. So if India wants to talk about AI, it has to first answer the question, what data is going to power that AI? And the answer today is India does not have that data. Neither does India have production data, neither does India have consumption data. We have handed our consumption data to the big American companies, and the production data we don't have anyway. So what would that vision look like? The first thing, we would start getting youngsters excited about this revolution. We would start to introduce the idea of a completely new way of moving, a complete revolution in how things move. We would start teaching our children in schools about batteries, about electric motors, about how these things combine, about how drones, robots, electric cars are structured, how they will work together. And most important, we have to start building a production network so that we can get access to production data.